Hello friends, it's me, Shin, and today I'm coming to you from Primm Valley where I'm checking out Buffalo Bill's recently reopened buffet. Really happy to have you along. I'll see you inside. All right everyone, and here I am seated at the buffet at Buffalo Bill's. This is a relatively large buffet space, lots of booths and tables. I actually do like the architecture in here. It's been a very long time since I've been back to Buffalo Bill's in general, but finding out that their buffet was open, I had to check it out, and I do enjoy the very welcoming, no-frills atmosphere in here. Now the buffet is only open between Thursday and Sunday, and you can see the hours here. Unfortunately, I didn't see any prices posted. However, my dinner on a Friday night came out to $27. Now that puts this into a similar price tier as the South Point as well as the Rampart buffets in Vegas proper. But I've driven by Buffalo Bill's many a time as a child when I was coming to Vegas with my parents. And I remember begging desperately every time we would go by for me to ride the Desperado roller coaster as well as the water log ride. Unfortunately, as a child, I never got to make the stop. I believe both rides have not operated since 2019, but I certainly hope they do bring it back. That would be nice here. Originally, I wouldn't have thought it possible, but seeing as how Buffalo Bill's brought back their buffet, who knows what else they have in store for us. Now, while I'm happy I'm here, I cannot even remember the last time I stepped foot inside of Buffalo Bill's, but I'm excited to see what they have on the buffet line. Let's go take a look. Okie dokie, so let's start the tour of the buffet here, starting with this beverage section. It's Pepsi products. Well, we have some fruit juices here as well. Coffee, as well as tea. Cream, sugar, and lemons here as well. And they're playing a lot of copyrighted music, so I'm gonna have to continue to blather and yap away. So enjoy my non-commentary related commentary. Let's continue the tour here. This brings us to, it looks like a fruit salad section. We have tahini, which is kind of cool. A fruit salad cocktail next to some grapes. And we have blackberries and purple grapes, I believe, and blueberries and strawberries. Actually, I really like this fruit section. This is very nice. And then let me bring you all around here to the salad section. We'll take a quick look in the food here. I guess this makes a good place to start right here. Mixed salad and some romaine lettuce. Caesar dressing and some Parmesan cheese. And we have a potato salad here. That looks like coleslaw. And this is a creamy shrimp salad. This looks like a beef and broccoli salad. And we have some very bright tomatoes. Cucumbers here, next to some chopped up eggs. Nice little salad station. We have croutons, and looks like a Jello fruit salad here. Carrots and celery, as well as some cheeses. That looks nice. Hey. We have some shredded cheese here. And Thousand Island dressing, as well as ranch dressing. Watermelon and cantaloupe. Honeydew as well as pineapple. Yeah, very, very nice. We have some cocktail sauce next to what looks like a nut blend, or maybe some trail mix. Yeah, that's definitely trail mix. And an assortment of berries here, blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries. And that is next to some yogurt. So a little parfait bar here, very nice. We have tartar sauce, what looks like a salsa verde and a salsa roja over here. And these are sliced up lemons. Next to pickled jalapenos. I actually really like the cleanliness of it. It is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, so this is what you can kind of expect. It's I would say it's about 15% full right now. It's actually a very big space too. Okay, cantaloupe and pineapple here. And honeydew and watermelon, some repeats from the other side. We have a balsamic vinaigrette as well as what I believe is French dressing. Croutons and chopped up eggs. Okay, so we're starting to see a couple of repeats here in the salad section. Some more cucumbers and tomatoes here. And I believe, oh, okay, this is a different shrimp salad. There's shrimp in there, but it's a bow tie pasta with sun-dried tomatoes. That looks nice. And then here's, okay, here's some more of that creamy shrimp. And that is next to what looks like a spinach and feta salad. And yeah, Caesar, more romaine, and more mixed salad greens here. So that's the salad section. Looks like in the center here they have what looks like maybe an omelet station. This might be what they have for breakfast, but I am here for dinner. So let me wrap you all around. Okay, yeah, it definitely says eggs cooked to order here. So this is gonna be the omelet station, I imagine, in the mornings. Looks great. All right, so let's take a look at what they have for food. Bringing you all the way back around. Let me see here. We got plates, butter. Okay, so this looks like a broccoli cheddar soup. Oh, this actually looks really good. Yeah, nice consistency there. Okay, broccoli cheddar soup. We have some dinner rolls. Very nice. All right, so here's the food. Fried chicken to start. And that is next to some barbecued pork chops. Yeah, that looks great. Mashed potatoes and gravy. It looks like we have white rice as well as orange chicken back there. And some fried shrimp on the left here. We have broccoli au gratin. Very cheesy looking broccoli. Salmon here. Nice color on that salmon. Airline chicken with a wild mushroom chicken jus. And this looks like, actually I'm not sure, maybe a lasagna or a manicotti, I'm not sure. There's no labeling, but we'll find out. All right, so we do have a carvery. Okay, wait a minute. They have prime rib here and turkey. We also have some horseradish. Looks like some jus here as well. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what their buffet prime rib is like here at Primm. Continuing the tour, we have some Mexican fare here now. Spanish rice, beans, enchiladas. Oh, I love enchiladas so much. Let's see, we have some chile rellenos. That actually looks really good. And tamales here. Actually, their Mexican section looks really nice. A little good collection there. All right, we have some zucchini. That's next to the catfish. Okay. We have some catfish here. Asparagus and carrots. And we have some baked beans as well as a baked potato. And if we have a baked potato, that means we're gonna see some sour cream, chives, and cheese. Of course, butter and bacon bits. And I believe that's the majority of the hot dishes. Let's take a look at some desserts. First off, the ice cream bar. For toppings, looks like we have Oreos, chopped up nuts, mini M&Ms, sprinkles, as well as marshmallows. There's also Hershey syrup back there. Looks like two different types of pudding. We have a vanilla and chocolate pudding, as well as whipped cream. And then here are some ice cream cones. You have both waffle and sugar cones. And the ice cream machine here. You have vanilla, chocolate, and I believe a swirl. And then let's take a look at the next portion of the desserts. Starting things off, we have something that looks like a chocolate cake with pecans on top, I believe. And then we have some swirl cakes, and actually none of these are labeled, but I imagine these are swirl cakes, and actually I could not tell you. Okay, we have okay, this one is labeled the Black Forest cake, untouched so far, very nice. Next is some pound cake. Good looking carrot cake here. And here's that same assortment that we saw in the corner of those little pastries. We have a very decadent looking chocolate cake here. And this looks like a, I want to say an apple pie? I guess we'll find out. That might be peach. Some more pound cake here. Okay, that's an apple pie for sure. And we have a pecan pie. Some assorted muffins. And last but not least, the blueberry pie. And that is the whole buffet. I'm gonna go and put this down and get my first plate. I'll see you in a little bit when I'm getting to eating. All right, everyone, so I'm back with my first plate, and with my first plate, I went with a lot of their comfort items. I got their barbecue pork chop, as well as the fried chicken, some fried shrimp, mashed potatoes and gravy, and their zucchini. Time to see how this newly reopened buffet is. Let's give this all a try. First up, we'll try the fried chicken. Fried chicken is definitely a staple dish at most buffets, and so I've got myself a nice little thigh here. Here's the fried chicken. Yeah, you know, that's fine. Now, this is very reminiscent of the fried chicken you might get from your local grocery store. While it isn't bad, not a very complex seasoning blend, but otherwise I'm not offended by the execution here. The skin was still nice and crispy, and you can tell here it's not exactly the juiciest chicken, but it's certainly not devoid of moisture. This is just run-of-the-mill passable fried chicken. It does pass the bar. I'd still classify that as a successful fried chicken. Next up, I'll do the fried shrimp. These look very similar to store-bought fried shrimp that I've had in my past, but I'll give it a dip into the cocktail sauce. See how it is. Yeah, that's fine. That definitely hit about expectations. I'm pretty confident this was frozen and delivered and reheated here, but given that, it's fine. I actually did enjoy a nice crisp to that exterior, and I can't say you taste too much of the briny sweetness of the shrimp. There's a lot more breading here than meat. A pretty straightforward cocktail sauce, a little bit sweet, a little bit of kick from that horseradish. It works fine for the shrimp. The breading on the shrimp is also well seasoned. This isn't a bland dish by any means. I'd say that's a perfectly passable buffet fried shrimp. Next up, let's try these barbecue pork chops. A thinly sliced pork chop here, smothered in barbecue sauce. Nice little cut of it on my fork here. Let's see how this is. You know, I'd say that's just okay. Now, the barbecue sauce is actually very bold. A deep smoky flavor to this, a little bit sweet, and just a little bit tangy, but the smokiness is the most forward-facing element of that barbecue sauce. Unfortunately, the pork chop here is quite dry and a little bit on the tough side. It did take a fair amount of chewing to get through it despite its thin size, so the texture definitely left a lot to be desired. I would say that barbecue sauce flavor was so bold you actually don't taste too much of the pork either, and so I feel like you could have thrown this much barbecue sauce on just about anything and had a similar tasting outcome. Not the biggest fan of that one, unfortunately. Alrighty, let's go in on some sides next. This is their zucchini. A pretty standard looking zucchini side here, although I will admit it looks a bit greasy. Let's give it a shot and find out how it is. You know, I'd say that's just okay. Now, initially I was expecting this to be completely mushy. However, there's still a fair amount of firmness to the exterior of the zucchini. I was expecting so much less when it came to the texture, so I was pleasantly surprised with that one. The natural flavors of the zucchini are definitely present here, but there's a little bit of what I want to say is a spicy seasoning, very mild, just a bit of kick, maybe a tiny bit on the savory side also. And as mentioned from the look before, it is quite greasy. It actually doesn't taste all that bad. I think if it wasn't all that oily, this would be a lot better. Alrighty, so the last bite I'm going to be trying from this first plate is going to be the mashed potatoes and gravy. A staple option at many buffets also here, and a comfort food favorite when it comes to sides. Let's see how this is. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'd say pretty straightforward buffet mashed potatoes here. They're not super smooth, a little bit clumpy, but they've actually incorporated a fair amount of butter into this. It does taste pretty good. A pretty decent beef gravy here, very savory, nice amount of saltiness to it. And not watered down, it actually does have a nice thick consistency. Perfectly fine buffet mashed potatoes there. All right, everyone, so that's everything on my first plate. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off, and then we'll go for plate number 2. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Now I just got my second plate. With my second plate, I went in on some prime rib. Let me give you a view of what I got. So I got the prime rib as well as the broccoli au gratin. I believe this is a manicotti, their salmon, as well as their airline chicken. This is all looking really good. Let's give it a try. First off, we'll go in on the prime rib. I was definitely not expecting to see prime rib here at this buffet when I first found out about it, but I'm certainly happy it's here. I do have some accompanying jus as well as horseradish, but I want to try it straight up first. Let's see how this prime rib is. You know, I'd say that's just okay. Not exactly the best prime rib here, even by buffet standards, but it is passing the bar in terms of being a prime rib at a buffet. Not exactly a moist and juicy prime rib here, but it certainly wasn't dry. Unfortunately, it wasn't a super tender cut of beef though. It was a bit tough, a little bit on the chewy side, and I do think the crust could have used some additional seasoning. That said, it does have a beefy flavor to it. I've actually had worse prime ribs than this. So if you are looking for some buffet prime rib, it's present and it's passable. Now we'll try dipping it into some of the jus as well as this horseradish here. I will give this a taste. Much better. The additional depth and savoriness from the jus helps a lot here, really amping up the beefy flavors as well as making up for the lack of seasoning on the crust. The jus feels like a must. A creamy horseradish here, not a lot of spice, but definitely enough kick to provide some accent flavors. It does elevate the prime rib quite a bit. While it's not the best cut of beef with some horseradish as well as jus, you can actually get a decent bite of prime rib here. Next up, the manicotti. I think this was the lone Italian option that I saw on the buffet line, if I remember correctly. And so hopefully it's doing Italy proud here on the buffet line. Let's see how it is. Yeah, you know, I'd say that's just okay. Now firstly, unfortunately, the pasta noodles here are quite mushy. It does leave a bit to be desired texturally. I would certainly appreciate a much more firm noodle here. Now I actually do really like the ricotta layer in here. It's a creamy cheese, there's actually a nice flavor to it, and just a hint of acidity. You can tell that they've actually squeezed some lemon juice in there. I'm very impressed by that. Unfortunately, I do think the tomato sauce is quite sweet. I would like it if that was cooked down a little bit more, because you lose a lot of the garlic and the zesty natures of the tomato sauce. Some good points, some not so good points, but I think this could be passable if you're looking for an Italian option if you absolutely need it. Next up, we'll do the salmon dish. I believe this was the one fish option that they had here, covered in some kind of a cream sauce, and I've got a nice little amount on my fork here. Here's the salmon. Can't say I'm a big fan of that one. Now I think this salmon might have been victim to being on the buffet line for a little bit too long, because I can see what the recipe was going for, but unfortunately the fish is so dried out. There is little to no moisture in the middle of this fish, creating for a bit of a dry chew. It's not all that pleasant, and also you don't get all that much of that salmon flavor. The majority of what you taste here is actually the cream sauce, and I won't say that it's bad. It's quite buttery, very rich, and an acidic layer to it also. There's a nice amount of lemon in there bringing brightness to this bite, but unfortunately the fish is just so hard to chew through that it's not all that pleasant to eat this right now. A bit of a shame on this one. Next up, airline chicken. Similar to the salmon dish, this was served along with some kind of a cream sauce, and got a nice little chunk here on the fork. The airline chicken. Yeah, you know what, not bad. Now the chicken is relatively dry here, but it's not all that tough. It still is pretty soft, though a bit on the chewy side. Unlike the salmon though, the flavor of the chicken absolutely comes through, and so that already gives a bonus points in my mind. I believe this might actually be the same cream sauce that I saw on top of the salmon, because it has the same acidic lemon notes. I actually do like this sauce, but I thought there might just be a little bit more variety there. The chicken was better than the salmon, but I think that could have just been a timing thing. I imagine both of these dishes are relatively okay when they first come out. Alrighty, last bite from this plate is gonna be the broccoli au gratin. I guess a fancy way of just calling it broccoli cheese, and hopefully it's good here at the buffet. Let's see how it is. Yeah, you know what? That's pretty good. Buffets are such a crapshoot when it comes to textures. I was fully expecting this broccoli to be ultra soggy and very mushy, but similar to the zucchini from before, the broccoli still has a bit of firmness to it. Actually a very nice texture to the broccoli. That is surprisingly good. A very creamy cheese sauce here is providing a lot of saltiness and some richness. And I would say this is a pretty standard recipe when it comes to broccoli here in the States. Broccoli cheddar soup is a thing, and this very much tastes just like that. In general, well seasoned, and ultimately just well cooked broccoli. A perfectly fine side there. All right, everyone, now that's gonna do it for the second plate. I'm gonna go and continue working on this, and then we'll go for plate number 3. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. All right, Alright everyone, and I'm back with my third plate, and with my third plate I decided to round out a lot of the menu items. I have some rice and beans, tamales, as well as their chile relleno and enchiladas, and a bowl of their barbecue beans and some catfish here. I think this actually does round out a lot of the options here. Let's give it a try. First up, we'll try the tamale. Now this took a bit of unwrapping, but we do have a corn wrapper here, and it looks like a beef tamale. Let's see how this is. Can't say I'm a big fan of this one. The tamale exterior, while it does have a bit of an earthy corn flavor, unfortunately it's very dry, leading to a thick and dense cakey texture. It makes you want to reach for a beverage very quickly, and not all that satisfying to eat. The beef in the center, unfortunately, is dry as well, relatively tough, a bit chewy. Not a great texture there, especially given how dry that corn exterior was. You really want that meat to be super juicy, and in this particular tamale, it is not doing that. When I try the beef on its own, you can definitely tell it's been relatively well seasoned. A bit of a smoky and savory flavor to that, a tad woodsy as well, but unfortunately a lot of the flavors are just lost due to the lack of moisture in this bite. Not a great tamale here, unfortunately. Next up, we'll go in on the enchiladas. Whenever I find Mexican fare at a buffet like this, oftentimes the enchiladas are the best options. And because the tamale was a bit of a disappointment, I'm hoping the enchiladas are okay. Let's see how it is. Yeah, you know what, that's actually pretty good. This is a pretty flavorful buffet enchilada here. You are able to get the corn flavor from these tortillas, and they're still relatively pliable, still soft, a nice texture to this. Because the enchilada sauce provides moisture, this is not a dry bite by any means. I think that's probably why it does so well in buffets. And the sauce itself does have some nice flavors. A little bit spicy and smoky, though a tad zestier than typical enchilada sauces I'm used to. And a nice salty richness coming from the cheese. I can't say that you taste too much of the beef, but the enchilada sauce tastes good enough that I actually don't mind it all that much. Not bad flavors, I enjoyed that. Okie doke, next up, let's try the chile relleno. I believe this was actually labeled as a chile relleno taco, and I actually do like the colors of the chile in here, and I do see a little bit of cheese. Let's see how this is. Yeah, you know what, not bad. Not bad flavors when it comes to chile relleno. You certainly get a little bit of spice and kick from that chile, but it is not overwhelming at all. Very approachable spice levels here. You have a cheese blend in the center that actually is bringing a lot of salty and rich flavors. I'm surprised that it's coming through this much. That is enjoyable. Unfortunately, this breaded encasing is not crispy at all. In fact, it's actually quite oily and soggy. It leaves a lot to be desired when you bite into it. If it was just dry and not crispy, that'd be one thing, but the fact that it is soaked in oil just makes this not very fun to eat, which is a shame because the chilies and the cheese do have nice flavors here. This might be a bit of a timing thing, but this dish especially I would only want to try if it's fresh off the line. Next up, let's try the Spanish rice. I thought they had a pretty robust Mexican section here, all things considered, and the classic rice and bean sides are present. Let's see how the rice is first. Can't say I'm a big fan of this rice. Now I will say the cook to the rice is not bad. It is just a tad over, but not to the point where it's ultra gummy. Texture-wise, the rice is definitely passable. The seasonings are not working for me. There's almost a sour nature to it up front when you're expecting something a little bit more savory. And then that sour leads to a bit of a sweet flavor. I can't exactly put my finger on what that is. And then toward the aftertaste, you get a little bit more of that standard smoky, savory flavor you're expecting from a seasoned rice. It's just a very confusing flavor to me. I'm not enjoying it all that much. I think I'd definitely be skipping on that dish. Next up, let's try the refried beans. Rice and beans, staple classic sides for Mexican fare. Unfortunately, the rice wasn't all that great. Let's see how the beans are. Yeah, not bad. I would say this tastes much more in line of what I was expecting. A relatively creamy texture to these refried beans, and the earthy flavors you're expecting. I think it could use a little bit of additional seasoning, especially some additional garlic. It's a tad on the bland side, but the flavors are what you're expecting and matches up pretty well here. Not a bad side of refried beans. Next up, we're trying the catfish. As I was cutting into this, it's already felt incredibly crispy, so I've got some high hopes. And we'll dip it into some tartar sauce here. Let's see how the catfish is. Wow, that's actually really good. I actually really like the catfish. And not just for a buffet fried catfish. This is pretty good in general. A cornmeal crust here, perfectly fried. There's actually a lot of crunch to this, and a very flavorful seasoning blend. The fish inside is quite impressive. It was actually flaky and moist, also imparting some nice mild flavors. A well-seasoned fish. This is actually just good. And then you add in that tangy, creamy tartar sauce. Always goes along well with fried fish. That was actually quite good. I'm a fan of that one. Alright everyone, now the last bite I'm trying for my third plate is going to be the barbecue beans. I'm definitely a huge fan of barbecue baked beans. Often one of my go-to sides when I go to a comfort food spot. Let's see how the barbecue beans are. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'd say a pretty standard barbecue baked bean dish here. Nice cook on the beans, very soft, easy to chew through, but not absolutely falling apart mush. A very earthy flavor to these beans also. In fact, it's borderline woodsy. I was initially thinking that this was going to be the same barbecue sauce as I saw on the pork chops earlier, but it is definitely different. I want to say a little bit more emphasis on Worcestershire sauce in this barbecue sauce, because there's a definitive tang to it. A little bit more sweet than smoky in contrast to that sauce from earlier as well, but in general it's working just fine for these beans. A perfectly good barbecue baked bean right there. Alright everyone, so that's going to do it for my third plate. I'm actually starting to get pretty full now, so I think I'm going to wrap this up and then we'll go for some dessert next. Don't go anywhere because sweets are coming up. Alright my friends, I'm back with my dessert, and with my dessert I went pretty light today. Just a simple slice of the carrot cake as well as what I believe is a blueberry muffin. Now I am feeling so full, but I think it's time to activate the dessert stomach. We'll give these two a try. Firstly, I'm going to try this little muffin. I'm pretty sure this is a little blueberry muffin, and I'm also pretty sure this is store-bought. That's not to say it's going to taste bad though. Here's the little muffin. Yeah, that's pretty good. Absolutely a store-bought muffin here. I'm sure if you've been to a continental breakfast of any kind, you've probably seen these muffins. Very buttery, very rich. A relatively moist and airy center as well. Texture-wise, these are just fine. A pretty straightforward sweetness here, and you absolutely get the flavors of the blueberries. In general, this is about as cookie cutter of a blueberry muffin gets. It's a store-bought muffin. I'm pretty sure you know what that tastes like. Alright everyone, now the last bite I'm trying here at the buffet at Buffalo Bill's is going to be their carrot cake. Actually a very nice looking carrot cake here. And the center cream cheese layer here makes me wonder if this was homemade. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Yeah, it's really good. This is actually a really nice carrot cake. A moist cake layer with a lot of that natural sweetness from the carrots absolutely coming through, makes some great flavors. And you also get the sweetness from the raisins here as well. The center cream cheese layer really does make me think this might be homemade, because oftentimes that middle cream layer for a store-bought cake is much more hard and much more rigid. A very nice sweetness coming from that cream cheese frosting, and a bit of a nutty sweetness to this cake as well. A tasty carrot cake here, I do like this one. Alright everyone, now that's going to do it for my buffet dinner here at Primm Valley's Buffalo Bill. Given that you're a solid 30 to 40 minutes away from the Las Vegas Strip once you reach the Primm Valley area, if you're looking for some quick buffet eats to feed the family from the long drive, this is about what you can expect here at the buffet. While not the best quality buffet food, all of it was relatively passable here, and I also appreciated the cleanliness of the environment. I was very surprised to find out they had prime rib. I was not expecting that at all here. And who knows, maybe the breakfast and lunch items fare better as well. Alright everyone, now that's going to do it for this Tuesday video where I check out a little bit more of a local spot here in the Las Vegas Valley. Coming this Saturday, I'm going to be returning to the Las Vegas Strip to continue my quest to vlog every restaurant on the Strip as well as downtown. Make sure you come back for that one. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week. And I hope you enjoy Vegas with me, Shin. Bye.